Hello, welcome back. Going to be going over another game engine of sorts today called SFML, Simple and Fast Multimedia Library. You can find it at sfml-dev.org. When you go to download, you get some choices. I am going to be going not with the normal version you can get here, which is C++, and you'll see there's actually a little bit of a benefit because with C++ you have to match it to your compiler. Now, I am going to be going with the C version. The difference between C and C++ is small, but also kind of large. I don't like some of the syntax features and some of the way C++ works. I just kind of like C better. And this has an official C version, along with an official .NET version, which would go for C#, Visual Basic .NET, and anything that uses .NET. So when you go to CSFML here, it tells you that the API is close as possible to the C++ API, which is pretty true. And that unlike the C++ version, as long as you get the right architecture, so like Windows, Mac OS, or all, which would be Linux or anything else that it can run on, it will work just fine. So, and I'm actually going to download here, even though I've downloaded it before, because I have the 64-bit version, and I would like to make files, executables that are compatible with 32-bit, even though that's decreasing in popularity and presence. Yep, and that just gives you a zip file with the files in it, and extract files. Okay, it's a quick process. Delete the archive. Take this, move it over here. Oh, it's fine. Yay, arrange it alphabetically. Alright, so what do you get with that? You get some files, and you get some license, readme. Readme is not even that big. There's no tutorial for CSFML as it says specifically, but it's a binding. Since it's a binding, you can use C++ sources. It's a little more complicated than that. I'm going to walk you through it. You have here bin, which on Windows gives you DLLs. On Mac OS, I forget what it gives you. And on Linux, I believe gives you .so files. Or .a files. Lib here, you have GCC and MSVC, Microsoft Visual C. Yeah, you have .a files in here to link against, which is going to come up, and then you have the includes. Include SFML, and these are what SFML is made of, pretty much. Well, sort of. They're how you interface with SFML. The actual code is locked up, that does stuff, is locked up in the DLLs and the .a files. What you'll find in these are headers that tell how to interface with the framework. You'll see it doesn't define a whole lot of actual data or functions. Let's see. Well, yeah, I'll just look at this render window or window.h, which is how to work with, not Windows the operating system, but Windows like this is a window, this is a window. Yeah, this has to do with like title bar and screen size, text to things, drawing. Yeah, and here it's defining a function, but all it has is the prototype. And again, here and here, the prototype just tells you what type the function is and what types it takes in. So what data types go in and what data types go out. And if you know C, or C-like language, that is very, very important. Because if you don't match the data types specifically, then at best, the compiler will be unhappy with you. At worst, you could really crash things. I'm going to start fresh here. Play around project. I have a blank C file. So first you're going to want to include, learn, which is your resource for learning things. And I'm going to go to the tutorial, and the one that says for code blocks, MinGW. MinGW is the compiler that I'm using. I like it because it's free and open source, and it's not a big ginormous thing like Visual Studio, and I'm not having to pay for that or worry about paying for it later. And I can just do what I need with it. Going to skip through all this stuff about setting it up with code blocks and get to the code. So, we want to include SFML / graphics.h, not .hpp, because all the header files are .h's in this. HPP is just a C++ header. And in main, that classic necessary portion of the C program. Now, it gives you all these SF : things. They're everywhere. Every time you see that, you can just use this without the colons. So the function we need here is SF render window, I believe. This is where it gets a little hairy. See, you have SF render window, and you have functions under that, because this is treating it as an object, as C++ object, and calling the default constructor. So when you call the object as a function, it calls the default constructor, which will set up some common attributes for an instance of that object, a copy of that object. And that's all good and well in C++. In C, you can't have functions and data nested in instance in the same kind of way as you can in C++. So instead of a bunch of functions under this that you can call kind of easily, you can copy out, like this window.isOpen, the object you create will not have functions under it like this. Well, it's not like an object in the object-oriented sense. So we want the first one, sfrender window _ create, which creates a window. If you see something that uses a default constructor, if it has sf : something and does not have something else after it, that is probably the name of a file or a major type, and probably you want to add _create there to it. Definitely if you see code that you know is making something, you probably want the _create function. So what you want to do is locate that in the header files. We know that from render window, from including graphics, include SFML, graphics. This includes this folder. Each one of these 5, audio, graphics, network, system, and window, refer just back to these folders. And you don't need to include all of them, but you will always be including at least system. Window includes system automatically. Graphics includes window automatically, which includes system. And then audio includes system, and network includes system. We're not going to be using network or audio, so we don't even need to mess with those. So, under graphics, because that's the only one that we've included, although it could also be under window, which is something you're going to have to get used to, going back and forth between graphics and window to figure out where a graphical function is. Or you can just look it up, as I'm going to show you. And we can see there is, in fact, a render window.h. I have loaded that up. We have render window create. So now it's asking for a mode. So what is that? SF video mode. So this is a type. This is a data type. Again, very necessary. And mode is just a placeholder name for a variable that goes there. Itchy. So where's SF video mode? That is actually its own file. There's a surprising number of things like this that are just their own file, but it's not here in graphics. Got to go up, over to window, and right here, video mode.h. And this is a pretty simple file. It has one struct, two functions. And what we want is the struct here. We want to instantiate this data structure. So it exports or views, creates this as basically a data type. And that's how we're going to use it. So we go do SF video mode, and we're just going to call it mode equals, and because it's a struct, we want to define it the same way this defines it, with braces. And you actually don't need to include the bits per pixel, but I'm going to include it. 32 is good. And we're going to, as the tutorial says, make it 200 by 200. 32 bits. That ever important semicolon at the end. So that's just one part here. We need to create this mode because you could try to create it in the middle of this function call here, this SF render window create, but that doesn't work. You need to create it beforehand. So that is going to be the source of a lot of your lines of code in CSFML. I'm going to see how I feel about the C version of SFML. After playing with it for a couple days, I think I like it. It's okay. But right now I'm showing how to use it. So I have const car star title. So const means constant, so it's not going to change. You don't really need to worry about that. Car star, of course, is a string as in text. So title is going to be the title of the window. So we have title here, SFML works. So we need to call this function SF render window create. SF render window underscore create. I already forgot the parameters. SF video mode. So mode, and then a string here. SFML. CSFML works 2. And then for these parameters, you could go and figure out the style and the context settings. I actually did that in another file. But in this case, and in I don't know about a lot of cases necessarily. Definitely some cases. You can just replace those with null, a null pointer. And it will go to the default or a sensible option. So, what's next? Circle shape. But even just that, we can compile and run that, and it will do a thing. So I'm already in the directory that the files are in, the code file is in. Going to type out the path to my compiler, the MinGW compiler. I have it as part of msys2. You can get it separately. You can get it as part of the TDM package. I tried TDM and I couldn't get it to work. You could get the old dev C++. That uses MinGW. That'll be fine. I would get the newer, older dev C++, the like Orwell, or I think it was called. GW bin GCC. And then we're going to want to include, I actually have the setup typed up here. Yes. You need to link things. So you need to tell the linker where to find the files, these files. These ones right here. So, let's see, slash users. This user is main, repos, games, and then CSFML. You can hit tab and it'll complete it. And I got 32 and 64-bit. We're going to go 32-bit. And then backslash lib backslash GCC. And then you want to tell it which actual libraries you want to include. This is a thing that tripped me up for a while. You need to specify each of the precompiled libraries. And you do that with a -L and then the name of the library without the lib or the .a. So lib CSFML-graphics.a becomes CSFML-graphics, or rather -L CSFML-graphics. And I'm going to include from generic to specific, so L CSFML-system L CSFML-window L CSFML-graphics. Now we have the includes. These are the header files that give it the prototypes so that it knows what to look for. And those are in the include directory here. C /users main repos games CSFML 32-bit /include. And you would think, oh, go under SFML here and maybe even specify these directly. No, because you need these to be here, and these refer to each other, and these refer to these folders, and they all refer to each other as being under SFML, the SFML folder. So you need to include the folder that is in. So include, and just stop it there. And I forgot about the code file. You need to specify the code files before any of the linking or including. If you specify it after, it won't know what it's doing as far as linking and putting the actual active code into your file. So toot.c, then the linker directory, link the actual libraries, the includes, -o for output toot.exe. It'll take a minute to compile. Future compiles will be a little faster because I guess it caches some kind of information. And with this version, it'll yell at you about mouse wheel event being deprecated. That's just how it is. Incompatible. Interesting. I believe I tried this before with the 32-bit, but I don't know. Share from pointer without a cast. SF render window creates. Expected SF uint 32. Yeah, that won't. It yells at you about that. It's fine. But this from the linker, ld.exe, that's the linker. Cannot find CSFML-graphics. Let me make sure I put the names in correctly. I think I may need to use the 64-bit version. It said that you can compile 32-bit on 64, but I don't know. All right, let's try. Changing 32 to 64. Let's go. Nope, it didn't complain. Guess we're using the 64-bit version. So, now, under that folder we were in, there's an executable. And you will note that it brings up a window. And that is all it does. And in fact, it doesn't seem to do anything, but it has in fact brought up a window. What we want to do now is have something to show on the window and make it stick around. So we're going to set up a SF circle shape, and I believe this needs to be a pointer. One of the fun things with this is figuring out what needs to be a pointer and what needs to be not a pointer, and what needs to be created not as a pointer but passed as a pointer. But we'll get to that. So circle shape is under graphics, I happen to know. Circle shape create, yeah, it's a pointer. Circle shape pointer shape circle equals, yeah, create and set it together. SF circle shape underscore create. The function takes no arguments. You can see it says void in there. If you try to pass in an argument, it will yell at you. All right. Now, while the window is open, now we don't have, as I said, we don't have functions as part of this object here. This window that we've created. And in fact, I did this wrong. I need to SF render window pointer. SF render window pointer main window equals, just like with the circle. Now, while we look at a window function here, we're just going to search for is open. Next, there it is. And that returns a Boolean saying whether it's open or not, the true or false value. SF window underscore SF window underscore is open, then main window now. If we compile and run that, I do believe the window will stay open. That's the SF window pointer, case construct, but arguments of type SF render window pointer. So is it complaining because it's not a constant? I think it's fine. Oh, no, I think this is what one of the things that tripped me up. No, it should be a pointer. Is open. That also takes a pointer. So it should be fine. And now we should actually see the window. But you will note, it's, yeah, there it is. It's not responding. Because we have not given it a way to deal with things yet. It is a bare, lonely window. While the window is open, we are going to, this is our main game loop. All the stuff that happens more than once in the game happens within this loop. And you need one of these, otherwise it will just run through a bunch of stuff and then quit. Well, now we want to create an event. 32, include, and event, I believe, is under no, it's under window. It's under window. Event.h. This is a relatively short file. Right at the end, SF event. So we want to instantiate that. It is a union, which means the contents of it will be one and only one of these. Event. SF event. And we do not want it as a pointer. SF event. We'll just call it event. And probably the most useful part is this long thing here telling which event type it is, which we're going to be using that. Okay, that doesn't get the event. That creates a storage space for the event. We're going to do poll event, which is not in the event file. It is in the window file. Search for poll. Polling is just checking something repeatedly. Like that's what some peripherals do. So it returns a Boolean indicating whether there was an event or not. And it takes in a window and an event variable. And that's good. We have those. So while SF, I already forgot, SF window underscore poll event window and event. Main window event. So this will run whenever there is an event to be processed because of the way that this function works. It will run as long as there are events, and as soon as it's processed all of them, because it gets them one from a list, a stack, one in the order popping off the top one. And when it's done, it won't run anymore, and you'll just be in this loop, skipping over this part. So while that is running, if event.type, it does have a type field, equals at SF, and I happen to know what it is here, and it's this first one, SF EVT closed, for the window closing. EVT closed. And we do want to close the window. SF window close. SF window underscore close main window. And that is all for that while loop. We save and run, save and compile, and do it correctly because I messed something up. Incompatible pointer type. SF render window. Yes. You don't want to mix up render window and window. Window, despite being lower level, is made for OpenGL. Render window is made for 2D. They have a lot of the same functions and a lot of the same functionality, but you don't want to call functions from one on the other. So render window, I was copying what it said over here, or adapting what it said. Render window, render window. Compile. It doesn't like events. Incompatible type. Expected SF event. Yes. When you're lucky, it'll tell you when it's the wrong thing. Now, what you can do is that. Make SF event a pointer, and it will not yell at you, except for event.type needing to be this pointer element operator. SF render window. Is there a not and is open? Oh, I typoed. Render window. One more time. This is the basic version of debugging. Where's the typo? That's a lot of debugging. That's what a lot of debugging boils down to. Play around project 2.c. Now, it sort of went up for a minute, it stayed there, and then it just sort of closed when it didn't close on its own before. That's because event is not supposed to be declared as a pointer like that. What you want to do is declare it regularly as just an instance of that struct. And then when you pass it in, you pass it as a pointer. So you use ampersand in front of it to get the address of it, which is all that a pointer is. It is the memory address of some data. And it wants the memory address rather than a direct reference to the thing itself. Save that. That caused me a day of trying to figure out what the heck was going on. And I asked someone who knew more. Oh yeah, I got to change that back to dot. Shoutouts to Vana on the our game dev Discord. Oh, I forgot to save. or Werner, I'm guessing it's Werner. So now when we run that, it should be all right. It's not closing. But now when we click close, it closes like right away. It doesn't go through, like crashing and not responding for a while. So add something to display. Yes, that would help. Window.display. Now we already declared a circle. I forgot to set the fill color. Let's do that now. Fill. We want to set it to green. SF circle shape underscore set fill color. SF circle shape underscore set fill color. And just to show you, you can look up a lot of things just via the API documentation, but you will need to figure out what that translates to in C. The really handy thing is classes here. This lists lots and lots of things that you will need to know about. And for example, we were working with render window, we were working with circle shape. That's right here. Specialized shape representing the circle. We get set fill color. Click that, go down here. Oh, I also want to point out, it says at the top of the file where this function is. That is really, really handy, because then you don't need to go through searching every file trying to find this thing. You can know, okay, circle dot, not HPP, but circle shape dot H. So set fill color. Takes you down here, tells you some details about it, and some related functions, which is nice, and what it takes in. And const color. Let's see what that is. Why, it's a numeric representation of color. And there are some predefined colors, one of which is green. And that is how we are going to identify it. There is, and it's in color.h. So in fact, what we're going to do, include SFML graphics color.h. So it's just SF color. It's one of these SF, black, white, red, etc. So back to the tutorial. NGW. Set fill color. And first argument, I believe, is circle. Second argument is the color. I'm going to go with SF green, because that's what it says. And I like green. Set fill color, circle shape, set SF color, yeah. Okay, so done with that and that. Now, this is what will actually make something show up, I believe. Window, no, we want render window. Display. Display. Render window display. Render window. Yeah. Simple stuff. SF render window underscore display main window. And you'll note that before, when it was like crashing or it was not responding right, it still compiled okay. That's the beauty of C. It really lets you screw yourself over in all kinds of ways, but will yell at you over a missing semicolon when it knows exactly where that semicolon should be. Real big range stuff there. Yep, we can see it underneath the this right here. I don't know why it's not got a it hasn't got, yeah, it doesn't have a title bar, but we can close it this way. You know, yeah, I think I do need to set which parameter is it? Video mode, no. Render window create. SFUint32 style. Yeah. And yeah, it's not listed. I looked for that before, and I believe I found it in the oldest documentation that they had, which was not for this current version. The oldest version they still had documentation for. Class members, maybe. S. Scroll down. Style, SF text. That's not the one we're looking for. Okay. Yeah, I don't actually remember where that's defined. I'm going to look over here. Yeah, set default style. Window creation styles in window. Awesome. Yep, SF default style has title bar, resize, and close. SF default style. Now we can see it has a title bar. You can resize it. You can maximize it if you want, minimize it, and close it. So now we're just going to add a little bit here. Learn tutorials. I should have kept these open in different tabs. Oh well, we're about done. Window.clear, that clears the window out every frame and redisplays it anew every frame. So SF render window clear, I think, is what we want. Clear. Yes, and the color to clear it too. SF color. That is in color.h. And just a small file going over defining colors. In fact, I had this open earlier. I think, yeah. There's predefined colors. And I'm going to go with transparent black here because it's if you were drawing it on top of something, you wouldn't see it. Which is helpful if you want to draw something with an outline. So the outline will show up, but inside it will just be like a window. it'll be like see-through. Tube.c, clear main window SF transparent. And of course, draw shape. Now, where this combines all the drawing into one simple thing, the C version has it all separated. Yep, all this big block. Each different thing you can draw has its own function to draw it. Draw shape is for when you use shape.h here. We're using circle shape.h. They are different things. No, I don't know all the differences. Circle shape has some built-in things to make it, easier to do and stuff. And rectangle shape has that. SF render window draw circle shape, render window circle shape, and render states. That tripped me up a bit. That's another one where you can just put null. SF render window underscore draw circle shape. And once again, we need the window, the shape object, and render states. Main window, circle, null. I did something wrong. Huh. Oh, I didn't give it a size or anything. Yeah, that's a thing to watch out for using C. It declares it and it passes in a floating point here. You need to look at that and figure out what that actually is. The circle is there. It has 0 size. It has the default size of 0. That was a bit louder than it needed to be. To do circle shape. Graphics, circle shape. Shape. We're looking for the function set radius. Because I would have thought it was set size, but it's set radius. I guess they want you to know that it's the radius and not the diameter. To do set radius. Circle shape, float radius. SF circle shape score set radius circle 100.0. Don't even need to do that. Transparent. So there have been a couple little missteps, but I think they've been instructional in actually showing me looking up, not just looking up something where I already knew where it was, but looking for data, looking for code to plug in here. That should be good. Compile again. Bingo. And you'll notice we resize, it does that. I don't want it to do that, so I'm going to go beyond. Oh yeah, and return 0 after all that's done. I'm going to go beyond what it says in here and make it respond properly when it resizes. And for that, I am going to, well, no. I'm going to do, yeah, else if event.type equals SF, I think it's EVT resize. I still have event open. Resized. And we want to set the render target, I want to say. This is another thing that Guy helped me out with. There's a lot in here that does other stuff. I'm going to get to this when I'm done. I was just playing around, throwing stuff at the wall, trying to do different things here. Set view. So that is over here. I believe, nope. It's under here. View.h. View create. I'm going to create it before. Let's see, did I need to create it on demand? No. Okay. In fact, I'm going to move this up out of the main loop here. Going to do SF view underscore create. Is it a pointer? Yes. SF view pointer equals SF view create. SF view pointer equals SF. Give it a name. New view. Get yourself a new view. SF view underscore create takes no arguments. Which means, again, like with circle shape, we're going to need to define parameters on subsequent lines of code. Create from rect. Yeah. SF float rect. Just gonna hop over here. SF float rect view rectangle, yeah. SF float rect. I suppose I should, is it under here? Yes. It's just a structure that has some parameters. It's kind of handy. SF float rect view rectangle equals structure. So we're gonna set all zeros here just to initialize it. That's X, Y, width, and height. Now SF view. What was the function? Create from rect. Okay, that's what we want to do instead of this. SF view pointer new view equals SF view underscore create from rect view rectangle. I think if we run this now, it won't show anything because that view contains nothing. No, I was wrong. Okay. Oh, because I'm not drawing it using that view. Yeah, render window, set view. So you got to hop back and forth between here and here to find all the things you need. So that, of course, is under here. View. Set view. Yeah. SF render window score set view. New view. Oh, I need to specify the window too. Main window. Well, regardless, we're going to make it work with resizing. So what we want to do is take the event that we gathered here when we pulled the event, and there, as we've seen, there are many things besides just being closed. The very second one, conveniently, is resized, and it says data in event.size, and that is width and height. So we can just conveniently do new view dot width, I believe, yeah, equals event dot size dot width, new view dot height equals event dot size dot height. Is there anything else I need? I need to reset the view to the current rectangle. SF, was it SF render window? No, it was SF view. Right? Yeah, I remember now. SF view, view rectangle. New view, view rectangle. Looks good. And yeah, I know you don't have the benefit of working code to compare to necessarily, but you can compare to mine. You can draw on mine, use it as a basis. Some of this is stuff that's taken from this tutorial. Some of it was taken from advice I got. Some of it was taken from another code example I saw. Shoutouts to, in fact, I'm going to search that up. CSFML. Compile this. New view is a pointer. Why is new view a pointer? Is it supposed to be? All right, render states. Close that. Render window set view. Yeah, it takes a pointer. I think I used no, I didn't. So why did this run? Why didn't it complain to me about dot versus pointer element? That's weird. Oh, I'm trying to set the view, not the rectangle. The rectangle is not a pointer. I should be setting the view rectangle and then setting the, because that's the convenient thing about a new view. I don't know if you can even set stuff like that. Be nice if you can. View rectangle dot height, and then I'm setting the view based on the rectangle, and I'm setting rendering based on the view. This one, just called CSFML example. This helped me. This helped me in figuring out what some things were called, and figuring out how to find, based on that, find other, what do you call them? Other functions and structures and enums and things. Now this should finally, yep, circle stays the same size and in the same place relative to the window. Now I think I'm going to, probably good practice to destroy when done. I know in C++ you would want to do a free or a destructor function that would probably call free or whatever it's called. I haven't coded in C++ in a while. I've coded in C and even longer. SF render window destroy main window. So circle shape. I'm guessing has a, yeah, I do believe it has a destroy. Should have left that open. Oh. Create, copy, destroy. SF circle shape destroy circle. And I could destroy the view and the view rectangle, and I think this demonstrates the principle well enough. It's not going to be a visible change anyway. I think it just helps the operating system reclaim the memory. Because C is not garbage collected, which is where and there's an element of the program that will go through and take things that are not being used and delete them to reclaim memory. So if something during the loop became to a point where it's not going to be used anymore, like if you killed an enemy and they went poof, you would want to destroy that enemy after they visibly disappear. Probably after they visibly disappear, so that you make sure you do everything right. But you would want to remove that from memory so that it's not taking up memory space when it doesn't need to. Although I believe it does not actually do destroy. Yeah. There was one other thing. What was it? Nope. Don't open Discord. Let's see. Yeah, that's good. That's fine. And I could go over some other things. There's, but I'm going to show another program here. Just cut it off like that, make it kind of look like a sunset. Now, I have this that I played around with, and this kind of shows you what you can do. This is a good bit more lines. This is almost as many as this. And it's not really commented because I decided to just build something from scratch here. Probably should have commented that, but what are you going to do? So I've already compiled that. Let's run it. You've got the circle, you've got text here, you've got a changing background color that fades in and out. It's just sort of a and it sort of locks up when you resize. But that is, in fact, about it. So, I hope that helps. I may be back with more on CSFML. Maybe I'll go into regular SFML. I may go on to another engine. Please let me know what you'd like. Till then, I'll see you.